I'm very much a free spirit. I don't like rules. I don't like laws. I don't like getting told what to do. And I'm also pretty responsible, so I wouldn't really be creating havoc and doing terrible things just because there wasn't a law against it, if that makes sense. I like to treat people well and have good relationships even if I don't know them. So, and I'm very respectful of nature, of things. So, yeah. I don't like that there has to be a rule to be a decent person. I don't think it should be that way. However, that's the world we live in. And for an example, this is why I don't think making something a rule actually does anything for fixing the problem that it was meant to solve. So, case in point. This truck that I'm driving, when I first started driving trucks, I had a little routine where I would, because you're supposed to do a inspection, to make sure nothing's gonna fall off as you're going down the road. So on Mondays, I would check oil, fluids, things like that. Tuesdays, I would go through and look at the lights, make sure they're all working. Wednesdays, check tires or something. But every day I was checking. Before I would take off, I would check, walk around, look at certain things. And in general, just make sure my truck was up to snuff before I took it out on the road. Nobody was making me do that. It was just, that's responsible. If you're going to be a responsible driver, you got to make sure your vehicle is roadworthy before you take it on the road. Plus, I don't want anything happening to me because of something I didn't see, something wrong with my truck. Now, it is, it's always been a DOT regulation, but now our company is really enforcing it, where we have to do the pre-trip inspections and the post-trip inspections, and they gave us this really long checklist that we got to do on an app, and check off all these different boxes every single morning, every single evening, take pictures of various things and add them to the app, whether there's something wrong with them or not. And the stupid thing is that we're encouraged to not report anything wrong, because if we do notice something wrong and put it on the app, it goes to the DOT. So now, instead of having these personal inspections that I actually do to actually look for things that are fucked up on my truck, I have these mandatory inspections that I have to do every morning before I leave and every evening before I get back, that I actually am encouraged not to report anything that's wrong with my truck. And it's just, so I went from doing these inspections, my reason was so that I am ready for the road, ready for the day. I'm inspecting my truck, good to go. Now, the only reason I do these inspections is to check the boxes. Because first of all, I have to do it twice a day. There's a long checklist. And second of all, I'm discouraged from actually reporting if anything is wrong with my truck. So I went from doing these inspections to look for things that were wrong with my truck. There was a reason for it, and the reason made sense. Now, I do these inspections just to fill out a checklist. And to be honest, I don't even really look at the stuff that I'm checking on the checklist, because I'm not doing it to find out things that are wrong with my truck. I'm doing it to fulfill the checklist because I have to. So the way that I look at it is that when you make something a rule, the purpose of doing the thing changes from something that actually makes sense to just following the rule. So I don't actually even check my truck anymore. I just check the boxes, if that makes sense. And granted, I could check all the things on the checklist, but there's a fuck ton. And I already get told I'm slow a lot, and I'm not gonna waste time checking a bunch of stuff that is on a checklist that I don't need to check every day, and therefore I don't really check anything. So I think that when you make something a rule, like I said, suddenly the purpose for doing whatever I was doing changes from actually doing something productive or making sure something's safe to just checking the box and actually not checking if my truck is safe to drive or not. And yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who, if there wasn't a regulation, wouldn't check the truck at all. But those same people aren't checking the truck when there's a checklist. They're doing, like I do now too, and just checking the boxes on the checklist. So, yeah, if that makes sense, that's why when something becomes a rule or a regulation, it doesn't mean, that doesn't make it better. It doesn't mean that it's actually getting the effect that you want. It just means that people are checking boxes now instead of actually looking out for what they were supposed to be looking out for. That's me though.